Hi, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from for this new episode of The Rise Up Radio. And today we have with us a very, very special guest, and his name is Alejandro Reyes. Alejandro, very, very warm welcome to you on The Rise Up Radio today.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being with all of you.
Pleasure is all ours, Alejandro. So, folks, Alejandro brings over 30 years of rich experience in HR and learning and development. So, you can imagine the kind of conversations we're going to have today with him. And well, he comes with an engineering and automation background, but I think he has spent majority of his career in the talent space, working with giants like Dell and Motorola uh, across some of the very crucial inflection points and transformation journeys. And that is exactly what we're going to talk with him today. But before we do that, Alejandro, would you like to talk a little bit about your career and take us through your journey a little bit?
Yes, thank you. I was born and raised in Mexico City and had an engineering career and background. And early in the career, I was really focused on productivity, engineering things. And then, you know, my call was really a human development. I
Hmm.
got hired by Motorola to run Motorola University Mexico. That's how I came to the US. And I've been ever since in HR in different roles. As you mentioned, the last of them was head of people and transformation in Sintana Education, but it's been an HR journey. So much to share with the teams, and most of that career in learning and development and talent.
Awesome. So, Alejandro, when we talk of transformation, right, and that's the topic that we're going to introduce to our audience today. So, when we talk of transformation, I think one of the biggest ingredients in any transformation or any successful transformation is learning, right? Because without developing skills or developing talent in the organization, the real transformation cannot happen. Let's hear your initial thoughts, and then obviously we'll go deeper into it. What do you think about it?
Well, I think it's essential in many layers, and I like to unpack those layers. Transformations mean companies are expected to do something they have never done before
True.
or something better than ever before.
True.
That requires new skills, new perspectives, but most interestingly, it also needs new mindsets.
True.
When you look at transformation, when you look at companies struggling, it's never because the lack of ideas.
Mm,
It's because the lack of believing in the ideas. It's
mm.
because the lack of managers buying into those innovations.
Yep.
Managers want to filter through their filters.
Yep.
And so it is a reality that learning and development has a role in helping managers and organizations expand those filters just enough for the best ideas actually to go through.
Correct.
So it's skill, there is impact, information, skill for impact, and then there is what I call mindset modification, which is where I think is a frontier
Hmm.
for learning and development of the future.
Epitome of learning and development, maybe, right? So, is it translating into mindset and behavior change on the ground or not? In a nutshell.
That's exactly right.
Cool. Awesome. So, I think now that we have that context, so let's talk about some of the journey moments that you would have had, right? Both at Dell and Motorola, I think you were present at some of the major transformational journeys when both these companies were going through. I think, would you like to pick an example and talk us through on how that went? What was the core essential ingredient? Was it the process? Was it the content? Was it a combination of everything? Please tell us a little bit more.
Companies get to transformation in two ways. One is because they can't avoid it. It's like a meteorite coming to the planet.
Yeah.
There's no way to avoid it. Some technology, some competitor, and you need to react quickly.
Yeah.
The other way change and transformation comes is because you have a roadmap and you have a perspective of how the universe is working around you,
Correct.
and you can modify yourself before that
Hmm.
force comes to you.
Yep. Yep.
I believe in both companies, there was a little more component of being surprised by
Okay.
something that happened.
Yeah.
And being surprised forced these companies to quickly react to we need to implement certain technologies, certain systems, certain processes. And I believe the best example would be Dell when we were changing management.
Hmm.
If those folks may remember way back, Michael Dell was a chairman, no longer
Yep.
CEO. And then he came back as CEO
Hmm.
and reconfigured the company. And at that point in time, a few months later, a new strategy was revealed.
Hmm.
My job with other HR people and marketing people was to create a learning intervention
Hmm.
to explain what that transformation meant for every level of the company.
Okay.
So here's a perfect example of how learning is part of the journey
Hmm.
and not like an interesting piece of
Incident. It's not an
incident
incident. Yeah.
out
Yeah.
there.
Correct.
It, it was not about only information.
Hmm.
It was the complete spectrum from information, skill, a big component of why are we doing this and why our company's customers' lives will be better
Hmm.
and how your life will be better as
Hmm.
an employee.
Hmm.
So that is in the learning professional. We not always have the opportunity to the full spectrum,
Right.
but companies afford that opportunity every now and then. And that's where L&D really pays off in terms of retelling the story of the company for people
Mhm.
to re-engage.
Yep. So I think Dell's would have been a successful transformation story in your career, isn't it? Right? When they successfully
Yes.
transformed into something else. Have you also been part of a journey which probably didn't pan out the way it was expected to be? Or have you seen some other company going through a transformation attempt that didn't go through?
Yes. Yes. And mainly part of what I write in that book we were talking about,
Yeah.
my latest book, is the archetypes of failure in transformation.
Hmm.
And there are a few of them, but I think the most important is when solutions are implemented, but are never really explored in terms of what needs to change in the company for that
Hmm.
knowledge to actually deliver.
Hmm.
So if we're teaching people about agile, we need to
Yep.
become an agile company.
Yep.
But every department continues to work very vertical, very
Hmm.
hierarchical.
Hmm.
The environment, the design of the company is never going to allow for that new knowledge to permeate. So
Right.
the central point I've seen when failure is present
Hmm.
is the failure to redesign the company to liberate that new knowledge to flow.
Hmm.
And I remember there were many examples. Sometimes companies have money,
Yep.
and I remember Motorola in those years, we had a lot of money.
Hmm.
So regions and departments would buy very sophisticated systems, but there was no time to connect those systems to reality. There
Correct.
was no time to
Correct.
connect with other departments. So
Correct.
it felt like you had a Rolls Royce in some
Right.
sort of very pedestrian road. And
Yep.
so you could not enjoy your investment. I
Right.
think that's the most important feature of failure that I've seen, failure to redesign the company for the new skills to flow.
Right. So what I'm hearing is, very fundamental, Alejandro, right? Which is an initiative would only work if the culture supports it in the end, right? An initiative to probably, make an organization agile would not change unless the behavior on the ground changes, which is actually people working with agility or departments working with agility or even the teams working with agility. And that needs a culture change top to bottom. And that's a much stronger will than just saying that, hey, this is a statement that this is the transformation journey that we're going to be on. It basically needs a complete revamp of the entire engineering of the processes and the way work gets done. Correct?
Yes, that was perhaps the biggest opportunity when I moved from the talent function to the HR
Hmm,
chief people officer
hmm,
function is that
hmm,
you have other levers and other level of influence to actually produce that
hmm,
environmental change.
hmm.
And companies find financial reasons that need to be pursued in order to get those transformations going. You have
Correct.
investors, you have all the
Correct.
realities. But sometimes we believe those are the reasons that move the hearts of employees.
Yep.
So companies sometimes just rehash a little bit the
Yep.
presentation they made to investors,
Yep.
to people, but
Which doesn't work.
people's hearts tick differently.
True.
And those solutions that you need that require some redesign are perfectly defined by Linda Gratton
Hmm.
in a concept many years ago she wrote about signature processes.
Hmm.
And what that means is processes that reveal your values and your culture, how
Hmm.
you hire, how you onboard, how you promote, who
Yep.
you promote,
Yep.
and how do you treat your customers, how do you treat
Correct.
complaints of your customers,
Correct.
and how do you work inter-departments. All those things can also be learned. And so
True.
affecting the culture is one of the places where L&D is much more strategic and enduring. And, in the times we're living, Ashish, there will be an opportunity to relook at that
Yep.
because of the era we are living
That's
right
true.
now
That's true.
is
That's
the
true.
post-pandemic AI
Yep.
and all these purpose-driven era that
Correct.
requires that from L&D teams.
Correct. Correct. So, Alejandro, tell me, I mean, you have been in the thick and thin of deploying some of the most vast learning solutions or learning programs, across different geographies, across different business lines, and so on and so forth. When it doesn't work, what's missing in the learning process or learning? Uh, I would not say function, but primarily what ingredient is missing that does not translate into behavior change in the end, or the
You
mindset
know,
change, the way you're saying.
yeah, I would say one very pedestrian element that very often is missing is the description of what do we really want to change.
Hmm,
If you were to say with this training or with this solution,
hmm,
we're going from this to this.
hmm.
In general, people get in love with we're going to have this system,
Yep,
we're going to have this agile thing, but they
yep,
don't go to the next level and say, and because of that, our teams are no longer going to be driven by three people from the same department. All the
right.
teams will be people from different. That level of granularity
Hmm,
is very often missing, and therefore the metrics for success become metrics of implementation, not metrics of outcome.
outcome.
And
Yep,
I believe
yep,
that, in my opinion, is, I will confess, 50% of my programs were
yep,
about the fun of having the problem, the importance of having the
correct.
problem, the imperative of having the problem, but never what is really going to change as an outcome because of this new training.
Yep,
And I think if you're an L&D professional right now and you have one seat at the table, the one question you need to ask is that what
yep.
exactly is the outcome you guys intend for this to have?
Correct, correct. Yeah, it can't be more about implementation and completion rates, right? It has to be about the outcome and the transformation that's happening on the ground, whether the intended behavior change is happening or not. Otherwise, it just becomes dollars down the drain, and there is no business impact and there's no transformation outright.
I believe sometimes the biggest problem for the L&D function is managers may not have it clear.
Hmm,
So there is a process in that setting up of the solution. And I've been, trust me on this one, very powerful people with very powerful budgets.
hmm,
You're waiting for your opportunity to make an impact. They say, I want this solution. Here's the money. And you feel like, okay, well, no more questions asked. I get in. But what you need to do is stop 1 minute more and say,
yep,
what exactly do you want? And you will find out how hard it is sometimes for
correct,
management to have it clear. So your coaching skills, your influence skills need
correct,
to really help them
correct.
articulate what is that outcome they are
True,
looking
true,
for.
true, true, true. So, Alejandro, let's talk a little bit about your book that you're writing, right? And when you're talking about, in the pre-work workshop for this particular podcast, you mentioned that there are a couple of frameworks that you would like to share with us today. So, would you talk about some of those frameworks with us today?
Yes, the first is where are we really in the journey of industry in general. If you're in education industry, you are in the biotech industry,
Hmm.
when you look back a little longer than just 5 years or 10 years, has been an accumulated pattern of
Hmm.
what people think when they say we're an effective company.
Hmm.
Way back, for those who are older like me, will remember there was a very industrial perception of what effectiveness really is:
True.
quality, productivity, how many
Correct.
per minute. Very,
Correct.
very much focused on that. The second or the next layer of was financial.
Yep.
How much money are we making out of this?
Yep.
And so that complements the previous and make you profitable. The third one, I think we're still living through that,
Hmm.
is the ability to use technology to be differentiating at
Hmm.
the level of team, country, or person.
Hmm.
Technology allows for that. And
Yep.
I think it's an important limitation there in terms of how much personalization is good.
Correct.
And I think that the latest version of effectiveness is resilience.
Hmm.
It was because of the pandemic that we realized it was not enough to be scalable, reliable,
Yep.
you know, but it was important to also be resilient.
Yep.
How companies would still operate in very different
Correct.
environments.
Correct.
And then, the aspirations of a world that wants more equality and social justice.
Yep.
And you pepper that in with artificial intelligence.
Correct.
So I think the book explores the era we are living as the
Hmm.
intersection of those three forces: the post-pandemic era,
Hmm.
a manager and a leader, an
Okay.
employee that wants more flexibility, and AI and impact and elements of equality.
Yep.
And so that's one reflection that L&D teams need to take into account for design.
Hmm. Hmm.
I guess the second model is much simpler than that, which is what does it really take to go from that from and to? If
True.
you think A to B, that's the thing. And oftentimes managers, executives, and leaders get lost into the center.
Yep.
Our job in HR and in
Hmm.
learning and development is to
Hmm.
take them back to, in the end, what is exactly what you need to do.
Right.
And it cannot be only financial.
Right.
It has to be the human part and the employee part of it
Hmm.
if you are a people-based company.
Totally.
So
Totally.
those are the models in the book. I explore the 9 steps, 3 stages. But I think that what I'd like to leave the audience in mind is
Hmm.
your job is to simplify the A to B and be very clear what B is measured.
Yep.
That's
I
the
think
only way to measure
that's one of the
success.
most powerful statements, Alejandro, because a lot of times when A to B is not clear, you don't know what is it going to take from A to B, right? And you end up implementing anything and you
Yes,
reach C, right? Because you're not even going to B.
exactly.
Right. So tell me one thing. We are in the middle of one of the biggest transformations that I think either one would have seen, right? Which is AI. It's changing everything around us. Well, there are believers, there are non-believers, but yeah, I mean, it is changing no matter what. Do you think the core tenets of transformation and using learning as the core of making a successful transformation still holds in this AI era?
100%. The thing is, AI is if you look at it, it's a big transformation
Hmm,
that is unique because it has a lot of uncertainty
hmm,
connected with almost infinite potential.
hmm.
And that makes it a very powerful force.
Correct.
However, the way it lands in corporations still is a project,
Hmm.
still has teams,
Yep.
still needs to be communicated to people. What does it
Correct.
mean? It still has to have metrics. So the features of the old project management
Yep.
apply.
Yep.
And we need to remember that AI is not here alone.
Yep.
AI is landing to us in a moment where people are asking questions about what is the purpose of this organization?
Hmm.
What really is what is the role I play here? And then you add that on top of it.
Yep.
We will need a lot of communication and clarity.
Yep.
In my opinion, companies are approaching AI in three different ways. And this is an oversimplification, but it's so much content out there. I just would like to say this to your audience. Some companies are playing AI as a support function,
Hmm.
making certain things faster.
Yeah.
In that scenario, L&D has to help people understand how to be more productive with those tools. It's
True.
AI as a tool.
True.
In other places, AI is a co-worker. It
Yeah.
defines certain priorities. So your learning and development has to be about how do you manage that complexity, because now you have decision making in the AI tool,
True.
and how do you add that value? It's not less value for the human. The value
It's shifting.
moves
It's more
to more
shifting, basically. Correct. Correct.
judgment, application
Yeah.
direction. Now, if some companies are planning to replace, then your journey is about how you stage that replacement
Hmm.
in a way that is humanly consistent.
Yeah.
So my bottom line is there are more similarities in the project of implementing AI than many people are realizing, because the potential is so huge that we risk getting confused in the journey. But I would say to everybody in your audience, if you look at it, take a step back, and you will find there are stages,
Hmm.
you will find there are steps, and try to find the metrics. Try to find the metrics and the purpose, so you can actually adapt your solutions to help your company going there.
Yep.
Yes, this is going to be an epochal change,
Yep.
but it's in a
It's
way
exciting.
just another
Yeah,
technology.
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, Alejandro, tell me, let's switch gears and let's move on to AI in the learning space itself, right? I think you folks are doing something, we are doing something on that front. I think earlier, when you would implement a learning system or learning, not only a system from a technology point of view, but also a learning program in the organization, there was always a trade-off that you had to make as a professional, which is choosing either scale or personalization, right? But now AI is enabling you to not make a choice, and it's basically telling you, hey, you know what? You can make that personalization at scale. Uh, do you see that changing or aiding the transformation in a much more effective manner and moving more faster and more effective in a more effective manner?
I do. I believe there were spaces that L&D professionals and traditional teams were unable to really reach, which is, what does it really mean for me? What does it really mean for my particular situation? So I
Yeah,
think AI can really adjust information catered to your needs in a way
correct,
it would be impossible to do.
correct.
What I think AI cannot do is find what is the commonality across this team because of those goals or
Hmm,
because of that transformation.
hmm,
That to me segments the problem in two parts.
yeah,
The part that is strategically directional, that L&D teams need to still do, which
hmm,
is what is the aggregate and where is all of the above goes to, and what is
correct,
the metric and what is the future reality.
correct.
And what we can leave AI to do is those simulations or those games or that content
Hmm,
that would help people with backgrounds, the country where they are, the
hmm,
particular function they have.
hmm,
How does that can be specifically applied and measured?
hmm,
Because it would be very difficult to do for L&D teams.
hmm,
My keyword is complementarity.
hmm,
In the book, I have this continuum, and one of the pieces of the continuum for AI application is leave AI pieces of instruction that are uniquely for the individual, cater for them,
hmm.
but retain what is the purpose of that learning and
Yeah.
connect it to the story of the company. AI is not a tool to create stories. It's a tool to create aggregation of pieces to fit a particular reality.
Hmm,
I think for us in HR in general, there are three big roles in this future we see coming.
hmm,
The first big role is influencer.
hmm,
Your role as L&D and your role HR is to help your management understand what is the outcome they're really looking for
hmm,
and advocate for a perspective that feels liberating for employees and customers.
Yeah.
The second is architect. Getting to those signature processes is a lot of hard work,
Correct.
but it's part of what we have to do even in learning.
Yeah.
How do we onboard? How do we exit a person? How do we do performance management? Which, by the way, some people are using AI for that, and
Yeah.
we need to be just very mindful. What does that mean? And the third role, so it's influencer, architect, and the third role is choreographer. And what does that mean? Is once people are at the work, what should be the coordination of pieces? Here's the information, here's the learning, here's the manager, here's the feedback. And how does that create some sort of dance, if you will,
Yeah.
of the year where people get this coordination going on? And that makes you a little bit of a choreographer. I think HR is more important than ever in this world because many companies are thinking on AI as a more of an IT thing,
Yeah.
but in
It's not.
reality, what
It
I
is not.
what I think we need to do is get immersed. If you
Correct.
have one thing you have to do,
Correct.
is be literate at
Yeah.
AI as quick as you can.
I think you preempted my next question, which is, what is the one thing that L&D teams must start doing differently starting Monday?
Yes, I think that we need to be literate.
Yeah.
I found people very resistant,
Yeah.
very offended,
Offended.
unhappy about
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to not only accept that exists, you need to embrace it
Yeah.
because it is that way using it. You will find the limitations, you will understand
Correct.
this is not there yet, right? We're not
Correct.
in the robotics of changing the world.
Correct. Correct.
In that journey, what's my role? And
Yeah.
I think that's a very exciting future for that.
Yeah, I think I couldn't agree with you more because at the end of the day, it's not about being scared. It's more about embracing it and then experimenting with it. I think the journey we are in right now, we can play the role of defining that journey rather than getting it defined by some other people and then having to consume it. Right now, here is an opportunity where professionals in the HR space and L&D space can actually be active partners to define the technology in the shape and mold it. Which is going to be in a true sense transformative for organizations.
I think so. And for HR as a whole, I think there is a era right this minute and the next couple of years is a race to what problem can you solve better with an AI tool.
Yeah.
And I've seen some HR teams very distracted, like the eyes are going to the weeds
Yeah.
of we know a little bit better interviews, a little bit better this. I think our game in HR is mindset evolution,
Yeah.
is management capability, because that is going to impact how good we are at absorbing and implementing these AI solutions. So
Yeah.
we're also in a high risk moment that we can
Totally.
get seduced by the little tool, the little program, the vendor, right? The
Yeah.
LLMS and all these things, and forget that our game also is helping those leaders. What is the outcome you want
Correct.
to create?
Correct. Moving from A to B and then helping define that A and that B, isn't it?
Yes. Don't get
Cool.
distracted.
Exactly. Awesome. Alejandro, with this, we come to an end for our session today. It was fun and lovely talking to you today. And I wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as well.
Same to you, Ashish, and thank you to all your listeners for trying hard to stay on top. And you can reach me in the information that will be provided. Very
Totally.
happy and
Yeah, we'll provide your LinkedIn
extraordinary.
details for sure. Yeah,
Yes, thank you for the invitation. Very appreciated.
our pleasure. All right, folks. So there you have it. This was Alejandro Reyes, and I will see you with a new episode with a new guest. Till that time, you folks take care and be safe. Bye bye.